I hope all is well with everybody. Welcome in. We're gonna get started for today. Happy Monday, first of all. I keep thinking it's Tuesday for some reason. Happy Monday to everybody. I'm gonna send out my shares really quickly so that way I don't forget, because I did forget yesterday. If you were here in the live yesterday and you were like, this girl just jumped right into the topic, didn't send any shares out, I sure did. But the algorithm does what the algorithm does, and it did send it to the people that I normally share my live with. So today our topic of conversation and what we're going to be talking about is diving deeper into why inflammation and blood sugar are the hidden link that you are missing when it comes to you getting hormone balance, right? But really diving deeper into the understanding of the results that you get when you change, understanding why when you're in a space like we talked about with the nourishment crisis of what we were talking about yesterday. If you missed that, it will be posted on my YouTube this week, tomorrow to be exact. So if you were looking for that, go check out my YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. It will be there, as well as all of my past lives. And so we've been talking about this nourishment crisis. We've been talking about inflammation. We've been talking about blood sugar dysregulation. We've been talking about appetite suppression and how when you are in a calorie deficit or calorie counting and restricting yourself without a strategic plan, how this impacts your body in a negative way. And now I want to show you what happens when you do these things correctly. When you lower your inflammation, when you have blood sugar regulation, when you have a stable appetite and you stop suppressing yourself for being hungry, but actually start supporting the full body. Stop fighting against your natural rhythm. Understanding your actual natural design, specifically as a woman, because I work with women. I'm not saying that I don't work with men, but majority of my clients are women. And so women come to me and they will come to work with me. High functioning women come to work with me because they are disciplined. They're intelligent, and they know that they have tried many different avenues and routes when it comes to them taking care of their body, lowering their inflammation, and balancing their hormones, trying to get themselves away from fibroids or cysts, overall trying to get their iron deficiency to be balanced and to stop having it, right? Dealing with the issues of chronic bloating, stubborn weight, energy crashes, and depending on coffee, right? Having PMS issues, because PMSing is something that is common, but it's not normal for you to have this. Cycle irregularities, hair thinning, because that is a key factor to know how your iron is depleted. Brain fog, cravings that feel uncontrollable, anxiety spikes, and a body that just overall feels unpredictable. They come to work with me because they're having these issues and they're frustrated with these issues, like many women are. And even if they aren't necessarily eating healthy or fasting and thinking this is a way for them to fix these issues, they're still having these issues stem and come up, whether it's after the diet or during the diet, even just breaking their fast with water. They're still having water retention, which is causing bloating, right? And they still feel inflamed. Their blood sugar is not regulated. They're having a number of different issues with their hormones not having a stable place. Appreciate you for the follows and the likes, guys. Thank you. So, how do we get away from this space? What do? We have to make a clear, direct shift into what has not worked, what is causing all these symptoms to happen, into a space of figuring out the root cause, like we always do, and then us diminishing that root cause by us changing our habits. We don't start with the calories and counting our calories. We don't start with restricting ourselves away from food that we love and getting rid of everything in our fridge and in our pantry, right? We start with inflammation reduction, making sure we're not making ourselves inflamed every time we eat. We start with us regulating our blood sugar, making sure that we have a response to food that isn't just filling our body but fueling our body, so that way we have that regulation with our blood sugar, our glucose to be specifically, so we can unlock those cells and use the energy from the foods that we are eating. Having us get the minerals and the vitamins that we need and replenish our body every single day, rather than making ourselves drained and then trying to play a catch-up game after we have drained ourselves from iron, magnesium, whatever else that you have going on, because you're not getting enough nutrients. That's where that whole nutritional crisis that we are currently under is coming from. Us thinking that when we calorie count and restrict or fast in a way that we are taught how to fast, right? That this is the way for you to help yourself lose weight and to be healthy. But a lot of you are not realizing that you're already depleted in vitamins and minerals that are key essential functions that you need every day. And so when you're adding on this calorie counting or this fast, it's not getting you to regulation, but instead it's just making your body panic more. So when you eat again, it's going to spike your blood sugar. It's going to cause your body to say, well, there's famine because we're not eating as much as we need to be. There has to be some kind of lack. So let me hold on to it. So you're holding on to anything that's an additive, a filler, your body's going to hold on to it. It's storing inside of your fat cells, and it's going to impact not only your gut health, it's going to impact your brain health, but it's also going to impact your liver. And that is going to trickle down to every other aspect, your kidneys, your pancreas, your liver. I said your liver, your heart. Like, it's going to impact different aspects, your whole digestive tract, your colon. Like, you have to think about how each organ, regardless of what function it does, how it's impacted by one another. Your gut is nicknamed your second brain in science. So think about how if your gut pH is thrown off and it's not repaired correctly, how it's going to throw off your brain, which is going to cause anxiety. It's going to cause your adrenal glands to start pumping out more estrogen or more progesterone. And it's also going to pump out a high amount of cortisol, which is going to cause you to be stressed out. It's going to cause your internal body to read those cortisol levels as stress. And then guess what? Now your organs are trying to work overtime to try to compensate. So it's a full cycle of everything trying to overcompensate to fix and repair. Your nervous system is going to be dysregular when you are doing these things. But when you start from a space of learning how to repair your gut, learning how to lower your inflammation, helping balance your blood sugar, keeping your nervous system regulated by making sure you're safe internally so that externally you can see the results, your hormones are not going to operate and regulate themselves in a space of chaos. They're going to regulate themselves in a normal space of, I'm given what I need so I can feel comfortable. Hormone regulation is safety. Hormone regulation happens in safety. Let me say it that way. But when you are in a space where you don't feel safe, you cannot have happy hormones. So think about for the women who are having infertility issues. Not all issues, but majority of issues are stemmed from food. A majority of issues, all diseases and illnesses come from inflammation. So I'm going to say this again. Majority of issues that people are having with infertility rates are coming from the inflammation inside of their body and paired with the foods that are causing inflammation. So you have to sit back and make the connection of inflammation, your blood sugar, and your hormones. How are they all going hand in hand? And what is the key factor that people are missing? When your blood sugar spikes and crashes daily, like people do, right? Because every time you eat and you do not balance your blood sugar with stabilizers, you're going to have that energy spike and crash because you didn't correctly unlock the cells and release glucose at a normal, healthy rate. Instead, you are rapidly releasing sugar, rapidly releasing all that energy and not being able to convert it to use it. But instead, the body's trying to expel it because it's sitting here saying, I can't deal with all this sugar. And so since I have to regulate you by making the pancreas pump out more sugar, I have to figure out what to do with the stuff that you just ate. I know. Let me run through it really quickly. This is the reason why you eat something good and then after you have the itis. Yeah, that food tasted good, but it didn't do anything for the body. So this is going to cause your cortisol to rise. It's going to cause your inflammation to increase. It's going to cause your insulin to signal that you have an ineffective amount of sugar and food to be able to combine, or not, rather, let me rephrase that. It has an ineffective ability to be able to use the food to convert it. And so now you're having a number of different issues with you actually having energy every day. So now you're having fatigue. You're depending on coffee. You're going back and forth trying to figure out how in the world do I get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, 12 hours of sleep, and yet I wake up and I have no energy. Think about what you ate before. Think about what you ate the day before. Think about what you ate before you went to sleep. Your cycles are going to be terrible because of the inflammation that you have going on. Your ovulation is going to be weak. You're going to be having a number of different issues with each cycle phase. your thyroid is going to slow down and stop functioning the way that it should be. And if you look at the numbers of how many women are having thyroid related issues and how that pairs with hormones, so they're doing all these thyroid tests on people and they're coming back as, thank you for the share, as that they're regular and their thyroid is fine, but they're not pinpointing where it's coming from, which is the inflammatory issues that they're having. So it's showing signs of some type of thyroid irregulation, but they cannot pinpoint it with these tests. Because just like how in 2020, people were getting false positives and false negatives, and everybody was freaking out about it, right? Because how are you supposed to be able to tell if you're getting false positives and false negatives? The same thing happens with a lot of the work that y'all go get done with lab work. And I'm not saying you don't ever go get lab work, nor am I not saying that you don't actually go get tests done and go to the doctor. But what I am saying is, I worked with a client recently who was having a number of issues with their hormones. So they went to go get their thyroid checked. And the doctor was the one who suggested, let's check your thyroid. And nothing came back with their thyroid having any issues. But they were having an issue of stubborn weight gain. They were having a number of different hormone imbalances because that weight gain, that weight fluctuation, they had always been small. So it made them it triggered a signal in their brain to say something is wrong. And so there was a number of different issues that were pinpointing that there's some kind of hormonal imbalance here, even if it's not just my thyroid. And she was a nurse. So she came to work with me because she was like, the way that you speak about the different issues and how I was having those same issues, and how you brought up one day about that you can be the smallest or you can be the biggest. That's not the determinant of how healthy you are. And she used to be really, really small. And she was like, even after I had my first couple of kids, I was still in that small range. She said I hit around 40 something, and then all of a sudden it all changed. And it's not just because you get older and your body changes, but she realized she's had a hormonal issue for quite a while. They were telling her that she didn't have a thyroid issue. This was tests she had done years ago. She didn't have a thyroid issue, but she did have to have something removed from her. I want to say it was her breast. If not, it was definitely in the lymphatic area of like either breast or armpit or something like that. And so she was explaining that to me. And after us having our conversations before this, I was like, so we have realized and realized that we have an irregularity when it comes to our hormones. She knew that. She was like, there has to be one, because it doesn't make sense with all of the symptoms that I have, how no tests can prove what I have going on. But knowing what I do and me talking to her and her being a nurse and me pinpointing how the fact that it's not uncommon for people to get diagnosed around 50 to have fibroids, right? And that's not just because when you turn 50 that you just all of a sudden have a fibroid that wasn't there before. But it's the fact that that onset of premenopausal, menopausal, and everything else that happens during that time of life usually triggers more symptoms that makes them go check everything that would list, oh, you have a fibroid. But when you're younger than that, it's like an impossible thought for them to think about a fibroid, a cyst, anything like that, unless you were specifically coming in and saying, I think I have this, and you're forcing, unless you have a good doctor. But majority of the time, they're going to gaslight you and tell you that's not what you have and you don't need to do all those studies and those tests. Because they cannot directly pinpoint exactly where your hormonal imbalance is stemming from, because they are not taught to sit here and deal with the root cause of the issue. They are taught from surface level. So when you have enough surface level issues and symptoms, guess what? Now we can start running tests. Now I can diagnose you with the fibroid or a cyst. And that's what she was saying. This is the space that she was coming into. Her doctor's looking at premenopausal symptoms. They're telling her a number of different things that she has going on, and they're not pinpointing exactly where it's coming from. And that was frustrating for her, like many other people. That's frustrating for me. As somebody who, before I even went plant-based, was asking a lot of questions to my doctor that they were not answering. And the underlying issue of it all was the undernourishment that I was going through because I believed in diet culture. I'm sitting here calorie counting and restricting, starving myself and putting my body in survival mode, thinking this is the way that I'm healthy, right? But as I started to learn what they were doing to our food, and I started to learn how to eat more healthy foods. I started to understand how it's not about restricting, but it's about the quality of food rather than the quantity and you sitting here filling. Because food is medicine, so it's fuel. But when you're not using it as fuel to balance, you're going to be in survival mode. So when clients come to work with me, They rebuild from the roots. They understand what the root is of it all is. Not just symptom chasing, but having a foundation to build on because you know where it's coming from. So if you're sitting here dealing with, like I was dealing with estrogen dominance before, we pinpoint your estrogen dominance coming from your sugar intake. Your estrogen dominance could be coming from all the inflammatory foods you have going on. You not eating according to your cycle phases as a woman. And as we go along and we start to understand that your cycle phases and how important they are, regardless if you're premenopausal, menopausal, you're in the early stages of fertility, your late stages of fertility, you have hormonal cycles. I said in cycles. You have hormonal cycles. This is going to affect your energy. This is going to affect how your estrogen and your progesterone counteract with each other. Which one's higher, which one's lower when they're balanced. It's going to affect your weight. But your weight specifically is all impacted by the foods that you were eating. That bloating that you get right before, that irritability that you have, PMSing, that is a sign that you did not eat what you were needing to eat all throughout the month. And so when you don't eat what you need to eat through each phase of your cycle, you're going to be irritable. You're going to be bloated. You're going to be sitting here craving all this sugar, wondering why, and then being like, I start my period in 3 days, so I'm crying and I want chocolate. But in reality, your body wants fiber to help you go to the bathroom, and it wants protein, and it wants you to help it be able to get enough iron. But you're not giving it those things by eating chocolate. And so you sit here and hype yourself up with sugar and junk for the next 2 or 3 days before your cycle, and then you wonder why you're constipated. You wonder why that first couple of days you're on the toilet constantly. And it's not just because this is a part of your cycle. This is a common thing, but it's not normal for you to go through these things. This is a sign of an irregularity, discomfort in the body. And so you have to see that shift away from what helps your body be able to feel normal, to feel comfortable, versus what you're currently dealing with, which is that irritability, that uncomfortable, that PMS. You not understanding how the body operates and how these symptoms are not a punishment, but they're a way for you to fix and correct what you have going on before you are diagnosed with something that is a chronic illness or a disease or cancer. Because that's the space where we are going to. It's not the matter of if I get it. It's the matter of when you're already having a number of signs and symptoms that are saying you're having digestive issues. You're having a number of issues with your energy. You're having issues with your cycle. Like, it's the matter of what are you going to get? Blood sugar issues, fibroids, cysts, cancer, high blood pressure, heart disease. Like, these things aren't just because you get older and your body breaks itself down. Your body is breaking down because it works overtime with all of the actions that you have. So when you help your body feel safe again, you don't have the issue of that your liver is having to work 3 times of what it's supposed to every single day. Your energy is going to stabilize itself because you're going to be correctly exerting energy in the places where it needs to be used, right? You're going to have those cravings reduce themselves naturally. And so if you are a sugar addict, like I used to be, if you are a sugar addict, and you have to have sugar every day, you're constantly craving sugar. As somebody who's gotten rid of sugar, I still eat sugar, but I got rid of my sugar addiction. Let me rephrase that. Spent a whole 2, 3, I want to say 3 months. I would say 3 months without any sugar. And this was not a pulling teeth situation, a struggle situation. This was just simply me understanding it takes 2 weeks for you to completely get rid of your sugar craving. That first week is going to be the hardest depending on how you operate. I teach a strategy that simplifies the whole thing by you understanding that it's not about cutting every single thing out in one day. I took a month with a week of me eating limited of sugar, but still eating sugar. The next week eating only fruit sugars. And then the next week after that, I wasn't eating any sugar. I just did water and I did my vegetables and like dinners and everything. And that was it. And by then I was able to incorporate fruits back in. So that way I wasn't craving and needing that processed sugar, and my body was able to regulate and recognize what real sugar is versus that unnatural sugar. Because your body, when you have too much processed sugar and you eat too much processed sugar, you consume that on the regular, your body's going to start filtering all sugar as toxic. That's just 100%. Your body recognizes real sugar versus fake sugar when you have a balanced body. But when you don't have a balanced body and you're having blood sugar regulation issues, it's going to recognize everything as a toxic sugar and panic. And so this is for the people that think they're going to do a fruit fast and they're going to do it for a week and they're going to fix everything that they have going on and then they're going to go back to eating and consuming the way that they were. I'm letting you know your body is not regulating itself the way that you believe. Yes, you can lose 5 pounds in that time. You can lose water weight during that time. Your bloating will go down, but it's not going to regulate your body to get rid of your sugar addiction. It's not going to regulate your body to be healthy and healing. It's just going to regulate your body and say, finally you stop digesting for a couple of days so that way I can catch up. That's all it's going to do. In majority of the time, you're not ever going to catch up because as soon as you go back to your old lifestyle, you're going to binge eat. So it's like you're just going to pile all the toxins back on again. But when you are in a space where you make yourself feel safe, your weight is going to be balanced. It's going to sit there and it's going to be regulated. It's not going to fluctuate up, down, whatever. Because I even have people who don't want to lose weight, but they want to gain weight. And they're like, but I would love to be plant-based because that's a healthy way for me to gain weight. And explaining to them, you're not going to lose weight by going plant-based unless you're not eating correctly. If you're not eating enough and you're eating junk, yeah, you're going to lose weight. And if you're already small, that's the last thing you want to do. But when you are eating a correct, healthy amount of proteins and fats, the way that you should be, and there's plenty of them, you won't be losing weight. It's pretty easy for you to hit not only a calorie mark, and I don't even calorie count, eating plant-based foods. But the matter is, how are you getting your nutrients? Are you getting enough healthy fats and proteins if you want to gain weight, if you want to build muscle? Because people freak out and think that going plant-based and doing the healthier alternative of not eating meats and other things, you're going to lose your muscle mass. You're going to be the skinniest thing ever that you don't want to be. When you have to think about, there are bodybuilders who are plant-based, one. And then two, how the body operates for a toddler that only eats purees. When kids start eating those purees and they're not on solids yet, their body doesn't lose a whole bunch of body mass and start becoming skinny. A lot of children start to get more muscular. There are plenty of plant-based proteins in multiple different avenues and routes. You're just not aware of them because what's pushed down your throat. And you have to question, why is it so heavily promoted? If they know that the meat is tainted, if they know that it's not working for us, but it's working against us, it's inflammatory. If we know that dairy does not help us give strong bones, why do we keep consuming it? Why is everybody who has an addiction to cheese like I did and love cheese, why does everybody say I can't quit it? Because there's something in that cheese that is added into dairy that makes you addicted. As somebody who's gotten rid of all dairy in my life, I'm telling you, there's a chemical in there that makes you addicted. There's a chemical inside of your cheese. There's a chemical inside of your snacks. There's a chemical that's inside of your meats that makes you addicted. You can question it. You can be very, very skeptical of it. But if you just go do a little bit of research and look at how they process your meats, look at how they process your snacks, look at how they process your dairy, it's in there. The same thing if you've ever had this effect, because I had this effect at one point. If you've ever eaten chocolate and you've tasted barf, and I'm so serious. This is like random. Thank you for liking up the live. This is like, and thank you for the shares. This is random and you're like barf, but think about it. If you've ever had that taste of barf, it's because how chocolate is imported to the US, if you live in the US and other countries outside of like those major chocolate producing countries, and how like Hershey's and all of them, since they import their chocolate, if they're even using actual cacao and they're using real chocolate, they have to import it, and how chocolate molds and it would not make it to your shelf unmolded. So what they do is they add this additive in there that naturally to people either tastes like barf or it goes undetected. And after you eat so much chocolate, usually even the people that go undetected start tasting that barf. And either if it's just a little bit or a lot, that's a key factor to let you know what kind of chocolate quality you have, by the way. Because I used to taste it when I was eating Hershey's and it threw me off and it turned me off to chocolate for so long, like chocolate bars. And I was trying to figure out why. But when I started to get like actual chocolate that is not just heavily processed and full of additives and fillers, I realized how much like the reason why I liked rich, like natural chocolate versus the fake chocolate like Hershey's and the toxic chocolate like Hershey's. And then I started to learn about the additives and fillers and it started to make a whole lot more sense. But all of that being said, When you know what's going inside of your body, you start to receive the results that actually support you fully. And the most important result that you receive out of everything that I have listed is that you are able to hear your body again, and your body is able to trust you again. Because when you don't know what these symptoms mean, you are not listening to your body. That's literally like if you have a pet and you know your pet cannot speak, but your pet is limping around. And instead of you trying to figure out why the pet is limping, you just say, oh, well, you're limping today, and you move on about it. But you're ignoring the symptom of the fact that there's something wrong with that dog's leg. That's what you're doing to your body. You woke up today fatigued, depending on coffee. You woke up today not feeling good. Your knees hurting, your back hurting, and all these other things, anxiety. And then you're sitting back and you're seeing those signs, you're seeing those symptoms, and you just ignore them because guess what? You have to go to work, pick up your kids, you have to deal with X, Y, and Z. Instead of realizing there's a problem here and I need to fix it before it comes bigger. So the reason why this method, this strategy that I have works is because you are stabilizing your body with whole foods. You are using whole foods to signal to your body, I'm not going to keep giving you all this inflammatory food. So let's lower our inflammation. Let's help support each other. You're supporting your gut microbiome. So guess what? Now you're going to have a healthy immune system. And so you're not going to be sitting here dealing with this super flu that everybody's getting sick from because they have a poor gut health. You're not going to be sitting here having to deal with the fact that the liver is not detoxifying itself correctly. And so you're building your hormones from a space of nourishment, not from a space of depletion and having high cortisol. So you're sending signals to your nervous system to say, hey, we can be calm, we can be regulated, and we're not going to be sitting here dealing with all the anxiety, depression, and overworked body. So when your cycle comes, guess what? You're going to be calmer. You're not going to be sitting here dealing with your emotions all over the place and you being so irritable. It's not about you having more willpower and more discipline into you taking care of your body, but it's about you knowing your biology and aligning to that biology. Because like I said, I work with majority of women. So you have to identify your inner self and how you feel. And when you identify this and shift away from it, you will get more results that are lasting, that are sustainable, rather than you just doing diets. Because diets do not regulate you. Diets do not help you change your habits. Diets only get you into a space of misunderstanding your body. But when you regulate the body and you actually give it more food rather than restricting to be healthy, and you give it natural foods, you help your body build stabilization based on the meal that you were eating. You help yourself nourish your body instead of restricting yourself and being in a calorie deficit. You help yourself have hormone protection with the foods that you were eating. You have not only just hormone, but you have immune system protection as well. Because like I said, over 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. And so when you have a healthy gut microbiome, guess what? You're not going to be sick all the time. So you have to think about why these babies, even though children do get sick, and that is a thing that happens, but you have to think about how their immune system is impacted and where their immune system lives and why their immune system is struggling the way that it is, because they have an unhealthy gut. A lot of children have an unhealthy gut because you think you're young, you can eat the junk, right? Because that's what we're told. You're young, you can eat that way now. But you're not thinking about the little 5-year-old that only eats hot chips all day, chicken wings, and fried foods. Like they're eating French fries all day and chips. And then you're wondering why they stay sick when they go to school. They're eating sugar all day. That does not build their microbiome. I don't see a lot of children out here wanting to eat things that help build up their prebiotics and their probiotics. I don't see a lot of children out here just loving to eat pickles. You get what I'm saying? And that's a good microbiome builder. And so you have to think about what you're giving your kid, what you're giving yourself to help protect and build your gut. And so if you are a sickly person, not like you have a chronic illness or disease, but every single season it gets cold, you get the flu. Every single summer you get some kind of summer cold, and you're constantly fighting and battling some sickness or illness, you have to look at your gut microbiome and wonder why it's so weak, why it's not protecting you. When you shift away from just doing diet culture and following what society does, you actually have a change that is sustainable. You live in a space of intention and you receive that repercussion of the intentions that are good. So, because inflammation and blood sugar instability, when they are left unchecked, cause a compound effect for your hormones, for your immune system, for your nervous system. You have to think about the greater cost that you are causing yourself later on. Because, like I said, just because you get older does not mean that your body's just automatically depleting and you're dying. Yes, every day we are slowly getting closer to our death date. But you should not be sitting here thinking by the time that I'm 50, I'm probably going to have cancer and that's normal. It's not. It's common for people to have cancer. But the reason why you're developing cancer is not because you hit 50 and you're older or fibroids or whatever else. It's because you have not taken care of your body and given it what it needs. Because cancer cannot thrive in a hydrated or an oxygenated state. I feel like it didn't come out. So what are you missing? You have to ask yourself these questions. What are you missing? Because as you get to that age, premenopause is going to be hitting harder. Cycle symptoms are going to be intensifying. You're going to be having a metabolism that is so poor. You're going to be having an energy decline. So then you're sitting here complaining about how, you have to have your coffee and you have to have multiple cups of coffee or caffeine in general. You need 2 espresso shots to make it through the day. And this is not a place where you want to live. So you have to think about the greater cost of what you are causing to happen down the line, how much money you're going to spend to fix this issue, how everything is getting more expensive and it's not like it's going to go back down. So think about how if your insurance company drops you and they no longer cover your fibroid surgery or cancer treatments or whatever else, and then they turn around and they're telling you, well, you're going to have to pay out of pocket or you're just going to have to suffer. Or they're saying this is your deductible amount and it's $10,000 and you're like, I don't have $10,000 just to blow on a surgery. You have to change your path. So if you're sitting here right now and you're saying that I need the results and I've been looking for the results, maybe I've been doing everything right, but it's not working the way that it should be. I want my body to feel safe and to feel regulated and lighter. I need energy without me having to depend on some type of stimulant like caffeine. I need a cycle that is predictable and that is not a punishment. You are in a space where you need a method, not motivation, like I said, because motivation is fleeting. You don't need more of you to sit back and be like, well, my willpower is not high enough or my discipline's not high enough. You need a method that is going to work, not a diet. You need something that is going to support you in fully understanding how to get a foundation that is sustainable. Not building on a foundation full of cracks like diet culture does, because they know that you don't have healthy habits. And then they have you build all these habit patterns on top of a foundation full of cracks that is leaning. And then when you finally tip over because you've added all this stuff on it and you quit the diet, guess what? All you have is that rocky foundation full of cracks to build back up on again. So we have to start a new foundation and understand how we stabilize our blood sugar, reduce our inflammation, give ourselves a healthy gut, learning how to eat a rainbow plate and understanding how important and impactful it is. And if you are looking for a space that is going to give you that starting place for that foundation, and you're looking for that deeper understanding and you want to know your A1C, if you were having blood sugar dysregulation issues, or if you just overall want to support yourself for the future to avoid that cost, I have my Eating Away Diabetes cookbook that is going to help you break down eating a rainbow plate, breaking down exactly how to use food as your medicine, understanding inflammation and A1C and how they're being impacted, and making those connections with recipes, as well as a whole bonus section. That book is over 100 pages. I want to say that ebook is it's right at like 99 to a little bit over 100. I think I added some more pages and made it over 100. And if you were looking for a more personalized plan that goes deeper, that helps you be able to have that foundation with a strategy and not feel depleted trying to understand what is going on with your body, but help you repair yourself, and to also learn how I've done this for myself over 5 years and kept myself in a plant-based space. And through that, making yourself a plan, a strategy that is going to be paired with grocery list, is going to be prepared with you having a plan that is optimized to whatever you working a 9 to 5, you being a single mother, or anything that you have going on, and taking that account and then making that plan that is going to support you. I do have one-on-ones. You can grab those in my bio, whether it is the book, the one-on-one, you getting on my email list, you joining my YouTube. All of these things that I have help you be able to build sustainability with a foundation that is sturdy, that doesn't have cracks, but is sturdy. So waking up without that dread, waking up and not having that confusion or having that bloating, having food that is going to support you and not feel like it's a task to eat, moving without exhaustion, because a lot of people talk about how exhausted they are from the workday and everything else, and then you don't even realize that you're exhausted because of the foods that you've eaten all day. You're not exactly exhausted in not wanting to go to the gym because you went to work today, but you're exhausted because you don't have enough nutrients to support you to even go to the gym and be in the gym. Living without your body feeling like it's fighting yourself. This is what a beautiful vision of self looks like. It's not a fantasy, but it's you understanding the biology of you and how you can be this. It's not a fantasy. This is literal life that you can live, that I have, when your body is trusting you, because it's not broken. It just needs nourishment, stability, and the correct habit patterns. That's what it needs. Thank you for the follow. And so this is what it responds to. This is how you build in the correct way. If you are looking for those, they are linked in my bio. If you guys have any questions for me, please drop your questions down for me now. And if you don't have any questions, I have to go get my dog's prescription from the vet. She looked at me. I have to go get my dog's prescription from the vet. And I'm just trying to get that out of the way before the lunch traffic hits, because I have to go in a very, very trafficy, congested area. Nobody wants to deal with all of that. So any questions that you guys have for me, please drop them down. I appreciate you guys for all the likes. Thank you. And like I said, if you are watching later on YouTube, because I do post all of my lives on YouTube, drop any questions that you have in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you are here on TikTok, don't forget to subscribe. Go to my YouTube, join my email list, because you'll know when I go live every single time, as well as you get free Wellness Wednesdays. I post on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday. I forgot to mention that. Thank you guys for the follows and the likes. I truly appreciate each and every one of you being here. I thank you for all the shares. I see you guys sharing. Any questions for me at all? Any questions? Any questions about the one-on-one, what you get with that? Any questions about inflammatory help? Any questions? Any questions at all? Give you guys about one more minute. Oh, you're so welcome. I am happy to share. I truly am, because there's no reason for us to still suffer from these same issues year after year after year, especially because as women get older, like I said, they're diagnosing you with fibroids and cysts and things now, but they could have did that earlier on to tell you, just like how they'll tell you maybe you're insulin resistant before you actually get diagnosed with diabetes. There is signs that you are having hormonal issues that are leading you to having fibroids or cysts. And so irregular heavy cycles are not just something that are common. It's something to tell you that you have an issue when it comes to you, whether it's your inflammation, whether it's your hormone imbalances overall. And so that's something that you have to figure out. Where is it coming from? Where is it stemming from? So we can fix it. Is it the foods that you're eating? Is it the products that you're using? Majority of the time, it's a combination of all. Like, a lot of people don't realize how toxic things are in their home until like it comes on TikTok and they're like, did you know your Febreze is terrible? But I'm like, what was it? It was either Lysol. I think it's Febreze though. It was either Lysol or Febreze, but I think it was Febreze used to be marketed as a feminine hygiene spray before it started giving a whole bunch of women cancer. So I don't think I want to spray that in my air. And a lot of people don't realize, and y'all have pets, that any aerosol spray is toxic to animals. Regardless if it unalives them today, tomorrow, it's toxic to animals. Any aerosol spray, your perfumes, that's toxic to animals. So it's not a coincidence that it's toxic to animals. And it's not just like, oh, it's only toxic to animals. It's toxic to you too. But it's just not heavily marketed because, like I said, it might not take you out today, tomorrow, but it's going to take you out eventually. It piles up. So yes, like your doctor told you that you had a fibroid, but not to remove it. They told you had a fibroid and they're telling you not to remove it because they're trying to wait to see if it can fester into something else if they're telling you to not remove it. Because majority of the time maybe, let me rephrase that. Let me not just jump the gun. They could be telling you that you can fix it. But the question is, how are they telling you to fix it? Because they told my mom when she got diagnosed with her fibroid, I don't know how many years ago, she got diagnosed with fibroids or cysts. I can't remember. She got diagnosed with some hormonal imbalance. And they were telling her that she could, I think it was fibroids though. They told her that she could take birth control. And after so long, if the birth control did not help, then she would need to have a surgery. And at that point, my mom is one of those where she doesn't even like taking pills, prescriptions, surgery's out of the question. And so I was already doing research onto all of this, and I knew when she had told me that she was going to a doctor, she was getting her pap smear and everything else, and the symptoms that she had going on, I kind of figured that's where the route that they were going. And that's what they suggest to a lot of women, is to take birth control. Birth control is going to fix it, right? But what you're not realizing is birth control does not fix your hormones. As somebody who's been on birth control, was on birth control for a year, it made me irritable. It had my hormones all over the place. I didn't gain weight because that was my only question when I first went on it. Am I going to gain weight? My doctor was like, no, this birth control shouldn't help you gain weight. It shouldn't make you gain weight. If you gain weight, like there's a problem, bring it back. I did come back because it made me constipated. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, I've gained weight. Whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. Had to have an ultrasound. I think I was a freshman in college. I had to have an ultrasound. They were like, well, honey, you're just full of poop. So I'm constipated. I've been constipated for 2 weeks, y'all. 2 weeks. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, so what do we do about this? She's like, oh, you have too much estrogen in this prescription. You're obviously on the side of where you have too much estrogen going on, which she should have known by the symptoms that I was coming to her about and the reason why I was taking the birth control. But like I said, they're not here to diagnose me with anything besides an illness or a disease. And they can't do that when I'm trying to figure out the symptoms and the root cause. So at that point, she had switched my birth control to something else. Yes, it worked for a year, but I'm irritable. PMSing all the time. When I say irritable, I'm crying randomly at work. Like things that wouldn't even bother me on a regular basis, I'm tearing up and crying over. I'm mad about different things. Like when I told my doctor when I came back, like I think it was a year, obviously, from the checkup, but I think like I had stopped taking it 8 months in, and like came to her and was like, yeah, I stopped taking my birth control, because she was asking me how was it, and she was like, why'd you stop taking your birth control? And I said I was angry all the time, and she looked at me, she said, oh no, you don't need to be on that then, and didn't elaborate anymore. But now I know why. I didn't know why then because I didn't have enough knowledge or research on anything besides the fact that I was just trying to figure out why I was gaining so much weight and why my cycle was so heavy. And as I realized, it was because it was throwing off my hormones more than fixing them. It was throwing me off more because that fake estrogen that they had in that pill and that progesterone that they were putting in that pill was not natural to my body. And so what was it doing? Making me irritable, giving me PMS symptoms. It made me skip my period. I think I had a period every 3 months. So it made me skip my period. So not only am I skipping cycles, but I was irritable, angry, and the cycle was not any less painful. I'm still having to take pain medications. I just got to skip a couple. Once I got off of that hormone crazy controlling pill, my hormones was all over the place. When I say all over the place, like everything was like libido is like coming back in a wave. I'm like feeling like I'm getting hot flashes like an old woman randomly. Like I'm no longer angry all the time, but I'm feeling fatigue like crazy. My anxiety through the roof. My anxiety was through the roof before, but before it was paired with tears. Now it's like I'm happy today, but I'm anxious all the day. I think it took about a month for my body to regulate itself and get out of that space, because and this was around, I want to say this was around the time of 2020 when we were all locked in the house. So I was able to get myself back together without being in the public, but I felt like I was going crazy for a little bit. And that's what birth control does to you. That's what any type of hormone producing pill or anything that they give you is doing to your body. And I'm not going to bring up, I'm just going to say this and I'm going to leave it. I'm going to say letter community because I don't know if I could say it, but the letter community, the ones who change what they were biologically made and then change to something else, and they have to stay on those like hormone blockers, producers, and all those different things that people take. And then they come back and they regret it and they don't want to do it anymore. It's because of all that chaos that they're having, just like I felt on that birth control. And I would be an advocate, because I was never on any of those like crazy things that they have to do for them to be able to change anything. But I'd be an advocate for don't take anything that gives you any suppression or change to your hormones, because all it's going to do is make everything worse before it gets better. And it's not going to get better on it. It's going to get better once you get off of it and you start changing, because around that time I had started changing what I was eating. And so that helped me immensely with the process of me getting my body back. But what truly changed everything was me going plant-based, because it allowed my body to trust me to say, you're not going to keep doing a diet and restricting and starving us, but you're finally giving me full nutrients. So guess what? Now your cycle's going to be more regular. Now you're going to have less cravings. Now you're going to have a stable weight. I couldn't get under 190. The highest I was around 220s. Now that I have been plant-based, I don't think I've been back up past 180. I think 180 was the highest that I was, and that was before I was like getting up and getting moving multiple times a week. Like this was just me going to work, me because I worked with kids, so like me walking around, being up and down all day at work, getting a lot of steps in, right? And not actually doing any extra things outside of work. Once I started to do extra things outside of work, weight training, whatever it's called, weight resistance, walking, like doing my cardio and just doing the things like after work, before work, whatever else. And I started to just slim down just naturally, just by walking, because that's where I started from. I think the lowest that I've been is around 150s, 160s, and that's around the place that I stay. I'm like highest on like a bad day, which is not a bad day to me, is like 170s. As somebody who could not get under 190, this is my happy place. Like, this is my happy place. I don't desire to be any smaller, nor do I desire to be any bigger. But like, if I were in a space where I was able to just like not have to do more work, because I don't like going to the gym at all. But I'm not in the space. I need to get back to it. But last year, the year before, I was working out, moving my body, because I don't go to the gym, 6 times a week, sometimes 7 times a week. And that was just because that's how I had trained myself. I had worked my way up to 4 to 5. And then it was just like let me see how many days I can knock out this week. Let me see how many days I can knock out this week. And it just became a second thought to even skip a day. And then when I would skip a day, I'd be like, did I skip yesterday or did I work out? And then I'd be sitting there like, I don't think I worked out. Let me work out again. And then it just happened. I worked out every single day this week. So it's the matter of you just subconsciously training yourself to be in that space. The same thing happens with you eating healthy. Not just like, oh, I have to eat a salad this week and I have to calorie kind of restrict because I'm in this phase of my cycle. But just thinking, last week I ate really, really good. I'm probably not going to be that hungry on Monday when I'm completely away from that phase of my cycle. And usually it just happens. I've had days where I haven't eaten all day. I've just drank water and it wasn't like I was just busy on the go. My body just never signaled a hunger cue. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in the cycle phase where I'm just more likely to fast. It becomes a subconscious thought once you're trained into that space. And you have to learn how to train yourself in that space. It's okay that you don't know now, but you need to get into a space of training yourself here. Because with what we have going on in society, and the way that our health community, health industry, because I'm going to say industry because it is an industry, the corporation is profiting off of people being sick. You don't want to be in this next wave of things that they're doing. There is a reason why they're labeling everything with the protein intake now. There is a reason why. And they're giving y'all a lot of industrially produced proteins. So you have to be weary. You have to be very, very afraid, as they say. You don't have to necessarily be fearful, but you need to be afraid of the food. So I'm not seeing any more questions. I'm glad that this was confirmation for you. Like I said, if you are looking for any of the support, any of this help, the link is in my bio. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I am going to head for me to that vet for her. The reason they're labeling everything with protein, with the protein intake, they're changing chips to have a protein content now. When you look at majority of your processed foods, and I think even I want to say like meat packaging, they're marketing in the front in big labels now, all the stuff with protein. They've been doing it since I think October or November of last year, that now everything has some type of protein label on it. And that's not a coincidence that they flipped the pyramid upside down to make the protein the top now again. And now everything has the protein intake and it's big on the label. It's not a coincidence. They're giving you it's not a coincidence at all. Just like we've talked about fake fiber. If you want more than that, it's on YouTube. They're giving you fake proteins. We talked about that as well. That's a more recent video than the fake fiber. I want to say that's like 2 videos ago, but I gotta go. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I'll try to be live again. Tomorrow's Tuesday. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow It'll either be tomorrow or Wednesday. I try to go live at least 3 times a week. I said I might be pushing for 4 this week. So if it's not tomorrow, it'll be on Wednesday. But if you're on my email list, you will know when I'm going live. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day.